Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils swept by the Pirates. They're in a really bad stretch right now. Are drastic changes needed? We'll talk about it on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the past 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating and reviewing if you're checking us out in podcast form. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. It's free and easy to subscribe. It'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. It also really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. So I would appreciate that if you could do that. And if you already have, thank you very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So you can check out our friends over at Game Time. Maybe don't use it to buy Phillies tickets right now. I mean, use Game Time anytime you're going. But I don't know who wants to watch this baseball team the way they've been playing. They are back home, and they'll play the Cubs tonight. So we're going to preview that in the last part of the episode. We're also going to look at some lineup construction quandaries that are currently facing the Philadelphia Phillies. Things may have to change with the lineup, but I don't know what can change with the lineup, and I'll lay that out for you. But the Phillies get swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, absolutely miserable. This was a team that people were saying when the Phillies swept them, oh, they're a nobody team. It's nothing. They should sweep this team. It's not that impressive, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, well, I'd much rather have that happen and have that conversation than the one we're going to have right now, because getting swept by the Pirates, they've lost 5 straight, the Phillies have. The offense is falling apart. The rotation feels much less steady with Jesus Luzardo struggling and Nola still nowhere to be found. So where we're going to start today is, does this team need drastic changes to save their season? I mean, they scored 1 run in each of the past 2 games. They can't find a way to win a baseball game right now. And it's miserable. Now, they're not dead. The season isn't over. This team isn't cooked. But listen, if they're not cooked, they feel like they're, a rare steak right now. If well done is season over, or medium rare maybe, like they are, they're on the burner. I'll just tell you that. But drastic changes, what exactly does that mean? And are the Phillies at that point? I don't think that they are. And to me, drastic changes would be firing the manager, firing Dave Dombrowski, firing a hitting or pitching coach, so either Kevin Long or Caleb Cotham. Like I don't see that as something the Philadelphia Phillies are going to do. Not yet, at least. This is a team that has gone through struggling stretches, and they've stayed the course, for better or worse. We saw them in the second half last year really, really struggle, and they didn't make major changes after that. And a lot of people feel like maybe they should have. Well, we're talking about this season right now. This is not the shoulda, coulda, woulda podcast. This is what's going on with the Phillies today. We can talk about history all we want, but that's not going to help the Phillies win the World Series in 2025. And that's still the goal for this team. So I'm not ready to call for drastic changes for the Philadelphia Phillies, but losing that series to the Pirates would have been bad. Getting swept by them is worse. This feels like the darkest days of the Philadelphia Phillies season. You hope, but they're still, you can go down from here. Just ask the Colorado Rockies. Here's why I'm not firing anybody yet. Because one, Dave Dombrowski, well, his job's not done. Trade deadline, that's where his money's got to be made. We'll see what the Philadelphia Phillies do. Trade deadline gets a lot more interesting when your team is struggling like this, but still has the pedigree of a World Series contender. He's fine. Rob Thompson's not getting fired. He's not. His track record is too good with this team for him to just get canned because they had a bad couple of weeks late May, early June, right? That's just not how the Phillies do business. That's not the way they should do business. I'm not saying Rob Thompson's the perfect manager. I'm not saying he's hitting all the right buttons right now. because clearly he's not. But the Phillies are going to be reactionary with those two guys. Caleb Cotham, pitching coach, I think he's done an outstanding job since he's been here. The rotation is still in pretty good shape. It's just annoying that Jesus Luzardo has been imploding lately and that Nola was bad to start. But you got other arms. The pitching staff is okay. The pitching was actually solid in the series against the Pirates. Outside of the bullpen game, which whatever, in game one, you saw two pretty darn good starts. One from Mick Abel, one from who threw yesterday? Christopher Sanchez. Can't keep it together. Actually, it wasn't even Mick Abel. Whatever. You saw good pitching in this series. My brain is mush from having to watch this baseball team all weekend. I don't even really I don't have anything positive to say about them right now. Outside of the starting pitching has still been good. But everything else, man, is an absolute mess. And Kevin Long, a lot of people have called for his job over the course of the past couple of years because of the approach, because of the strikeouts, because of all of these issues. They want to point towards the hitting coach. Now, I'll tell you one thing, and then I'm going to directly refute it with what I will say next. The hitting coach does not matter nearly as much as some people think it does. Like, what do you think Kevin Long does? Do you think he's in these guys' ear during their at-bats telling them, swing at this pitch? Oh, he's going to throw this, that, the other thing. They work on figuring out swing hitches and trends and different ways they can go about approaching guys and figuring out opposing hitters. They do all this stuff, but it's practice, BP, before the game meetings, all of that. Like in an actual game over the course of it, like the hitting coach, no. They don't really do all that much relative to what people think they do, right? I'm not saying Kevin Long does nothing. That's not my intention with this. I'm saying that this is a guy that people scapegoat, I think, a bunch for the Phillies' offensive issues, and I don't know that he's deserving of that. What I will say is that if you were to make a move right now, if you were going to do something drastic, it would be firing Kevin Long. Because one, the offense has clearly been a bigger issue than the pitching for what you expect, right? The pitching with the rotation has been on par. The bullpen, you just don't have the horses, so that you can't really put that on the pitching coach. But the offense, they're really struggling right now, and have a couple of guys that are really struggling that you needed this year, and maybe those guys will come out of it. It's only early June. There's still a lot of season left. So, yeah, you got nearly 100 games still to play, not even to the halfway point. So there's part of this that needs to be a take a deep breath conversation, but I'm not really in the mood to take a deep breath after getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, that's abysmal. That's unacceptable. And this team just feels kind of dead right now. Like, it doesn't mean they'll be dead forever, but they feel as out on their feet as they could. And if you were to fire Kevin Long, it would not be because, well, he stinks as a hitting coach, or, oh, he's the problem with the Phillies. But sometimes you make a move to send a message. And the Phillies, the front office, the owner, like everybody, they know that this team needs a message right now. They do. And maybe if you think it'll fire them up and say, hey, look, you just got your boy fired. A lot of these guys are close with Kevin Long. That may be something that wakes them up. I'm not advocating for it because, again, I'm not ready for drastic changes. But if you were to advocate for a drastic change, that would be the one that makes the most sense, at least to me. And again, not calling for the guy's job because I don't put as much of this struggling on Kevin Long's plate as other people do. But my God, man, like Bryson Stott, what do you do with him right now? He can't continue to bat leadoff. His numbers are terrible recently. Max Kepler has been a black hole in the lineup. It's just not getting anything done. The center field position is still a mess offensively and a little bit defensively. Bryce Harper's on the injured list. His wrist has been bothering him for like over a year now, apparently, which is just an absolute mess that's happening and that could persist through the season. That makes you worry about the long-term viability of Bryce Harper playing out this contract. Injuries have become a thing that he's had to deal with pretty regularly here in Philadelphia. I love Bryce just as much as the next person, but at some point you got to acknowledge, okay, guy's starting to get hurt a lot. And I'm not not that, but just him not being available hurts his team. And if he doesn't have power, that hurts his team. Schwarber's kind of cooled off from what he did in May, which is ironic considering June is normally his great month. JT Realmuto is just a shell of himself offensively. The bottom part of the lineup is just devoid of any chance right now, it seems. And that's a major issue. And the bullpen is still not great. And the rotation is trying to hold it together, but they can only do so much. Like Christopher Sanchez dealt yesterday, and I know he was facing Paul Skeens, right? And the Phillies got 3 hit, but when you see Skeens, you're like, okay, you kind of understand it. Still, it's just there's only so much a great starting rotation could do when your offense goes this cold. So is it hey, trust the process? Sorry, I know people hate that with the Sixers, but trust the process and stay the course, and we're going to come out of it. It's just the ebbs and flows of baseball. Or is there something dramatic needed to be done, something drastic? Because it feels like we're verging on that right now, and that's not a great sign for where the Philadelphia Phillies are to this point through their 2025 season. Now, something that I wouldn't consider a drastic change, but is still a change you can make, right, is to the lineup. I think it may be a necessary change. We'll see what they do, but I didn't exercise on the radio this morning with my guys John Kincaid and Andrew Salchunas on the morning show, back on mornings over at 97.5 The Fanatic now, and we tried to build out a lineup. If you were to change it around, there's not really a good option. We'll lay that out for you next as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about wonderful pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, you can crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats, and that'll help keep you feeling fuller longer. And my favorite, I tell you this all the time when I talk about wonderful pistachios, I love the no shells because I don't want to crack anything. When I eat a banana, I don't want to peel it. When I eat an apple, I want it pre-sliced. When I want my pistachios, I don't want to go through the shell. They have a no shells variety. I get the sea salt and vinegar all the time. It tastes amazing. If you like to crack the shells, you can get the OG as well. They have everything at Wonderful Pistachios, a bunch of great flavors and styles. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. That's wonderfulpistachios.com. All right, let's get into this lineup discussion. Again, not a lot of fun discussion to be had about the Philadelphia Phillies right now. If you're ticked off with this baseball team, I feel you. I'm with you. I'm almost even past the point of anger. I'm just like, what in the world is even wrong with you guys right now? It's driving me insane, folks. I'll be honest with you. And you know I'm as positive as it comes on the Philadelphia Phillies. So when you hear me in this type of mind frame with this team, it's because things have gotten bad. And right now, things have gotten bad. And part of the issue is the lineup is just not producing enough run scoring opportunities. And Bryson Stott has just, see, this is what I was kind of worried about with him at leadoff. And I don't want to play like, oh, I knew it the whole time. Because there was a stretch there for the first couple weeks of him hitting leadoff where he looked awesome. And I bought in. And I apologize. I said I was wrong for being nervous about Bryson Stott as the leadoff hitter. Well, it turns out I was potentially wrong about being wrong about Bryson Stott being the leadoff hitter. He's not setting the table for anybody right now. He's become an auto out at the top of the lineup, even against righties. Normally it's just like they won't let him hit against lefties, but he's really, really lost it right now. And he doesn't have the cachet to get up there and be at the top of the lineup and just say, okay, well, we're going to give you 2, 3, 4 weeks to come out of this. Like, no, he's still a relatively, I don't want to say unproven major league player because he's had his moments. He's been around for a couple of seasons, but he's not Trey Turner. He's not Kyle Schwarber. And that's why I think the Phillies do need a switch up in the lineup. And they need to go with either Turner batting leadoff or Schwarber batting leadoff. Or they could do the original idea, which is Turner against lefties, Schwarber against righties. The problem with that is, well, Kyle Schwarber's been amazing against lefties. He's actually been better against lefties than righties this year, which is nuts to talk about for him. But A lot has been said about Kyle Schwarber's season and how good he's gotten against left-handed pitchers. Testament to him. Maybe Kevin Long as well, but hey, people won't give that credit. But I'm not here to defend this team or have you say, oh, you got to give these guys credit right now. They stink right now. They flat out stink right now, which is why we're talking about lineup changes. And if you don't believe me that they stink right now with the guys that they have available, just listen to this, okay? So let's say Turner is your full-time leadoff guy. Let's say that's how that works. He's hitting well, swinging the bat well. He's been a really, really good piece for the Phillies this year. He's finally starting to earn a little bit of that contract. And not that he didn't last year. I mean, he was an all-star starter last year. But still, he's had a really good year. This has been his best year so far with the Philadelphia Phillies. Still a long way to go. If he bats leadoff, well, you need somebody behind him to drive him in. So I would probably bat Schwarber second. Then what in the world do you do outside of those top two? You can't go Harper because Harper's on the injured list right now. So who's your three-hole guy? Is it Bohm? Bohm doesn't really have the pop, so maybe you bat Bohm second and then Schwarber third. So, okay, let's just do that. Turner, Bohm, Schwarber. Cool. Not terrible. Even though I don't love Alec Bohm as the two-hole hitter of this team, he was a guy that's had his most success this year, batting 8th in this lineup. So I don't even know if that's a good strategy, but that's about as good as it gets through the first three. Then cleanup is who, right? JT's got no pop left. Marsh or Rojas, who's ever playing in center, can't go there. Kepler, you wanted him to have pop, but he has not shown it at all, and he's been really, really bad recently. So he can't hit there. Otto Kemp, that dude still doesn't have a hit at the major league level. And I'm not going to try and crush the kid because he came up in a tough spot. He was tearing the cover off the ball in AAA, so he deserved it. But he's not supposed to be expected to be this guy for the team. He's supposed to be another piece while Bryce Harper is injured. And he has done nothing so far through his first 3 games. So we'll see if Kemp figures it out. But he's not batting cleanup. I mean, who in the world do you put there? That's the issue. And none of those guys that we're talking about with the bottom part of the order inspire that much confidence. For the sake of argument, Nick Castellanos bat cleanup. So it's Turner, Bohm, Schwarber, Castellanos. Then what? Kepler? Kepler's been really, really bad. JT? I like JT batting 5th. He's not really coming through all that much. Stott, 5th. I mean, I guess he could, but he hasn't been good, which is why he's being moved down. Again, Rojas and Marsh, whoever plays center is probably batting 9th pretty much permanently in this lineup, unless Rafael Marchand's in the game. There's just no good way to build it out. There isn't. And part of the reason that that's so difficult right now is, one, they're struggling, so everybody seems worse than they actually are. But you can't change that without getting out there and playing better. Like that's it. You got to prove to us you're capable. And Bryce Harper being out hurts that because it takes away from the top of the lineup and makes the job even harder to score runs. Like in that lineup, and let's just go around the defensive positions. Like JT catching, Bohm at first, Stott at second, Turner at short, Kemp at third, Kepler in left, Ross or Marsh in center, and Castellanos in right. Like, how many of those guys are bats you trust right now? I think it's 2, maybe 2.5. Castellanos is the half, but then Schwarber and Turner. That's it. You can't build a lineup around 3 guys. You need to have other opportunities to score runs than just your top 3 or 4 guys in the order. And maybe that's short-selling Bohm, who's actually been doing much better lately, but still, he's not this revolutionary hitter. He's a guy that is a mainly singles hitter, doesn't really show off a lot of pop all that often, and he still is I don't love his approach with how aggressive he is early on in counts. I hate to just continue to kick this team while it's down, but the lineup is not in great shape right now. Now, if that changes, right, let's say Harper comes back and he's good. Then Bohm goes back to third, so Kemp's out of the lineup. Then what? You make a trade for a center fielder ahead of the deadline, and that moves Marsh and Rojas to both reserve roles. Weston Wilson, I don't even know, man. I don't know what to say about him at this point. And then you'd have to live with Kepler in left. And that's kind of what the Phillies are roped into at this point, unless they make 2 outfield moves. Or I guess what you could do is you could just have like this rotation of Marsh, Rojas, Kepler in left field, depending on the starter. But even that, it doesn't sound good, who's ever out there in left. It's going to bounce back a little bit, and the Phillies are going to win baseball games again. They're not going to go 0 for their final 100 games of the season, but it's not easy to build a lineup right now that has any sort of promise consistently with the guys that the Phillies really have available. Crawford can't get called up, Justin Crawford from AAA, because he's injured right now. Miller's still too far away. What in the world do? You kind of just have to press on and hope that things turn around for this baseball team. And I don't have a lot of faith right now in just the press on strategy. But it's easy to doubt when the team has been struggling. If they won like 3 straight, let's say they sweep the Cubs, everything would be all of a sudden like fine, right? Peachy. Even if the guys aren't batting much higher average-wise, losing makes things look worse. And that's how it should be. But you can't really change the lineup besides who's hitting leadoff. And even then, is that enough of a difference to stop the Phillies from making the issue or having the issues, I should say, that they're having right now? Absolutely not. Like, I don't think that at all. It's not just the leadoff spot. There's a lot of things going into this. So that's why the lineup changed. It could help, but I wouldn't look at it as a cure-all. And playing the Chicago Cubs, certainly not a cure-all. They're a good baseball team, and they come to the bank tonight for game 1 of a 3-game series. We'll preview it coming up next. I don't have a great feeling about the series, and I don't know how you can after seeing the Phillies just get swept by the Padres, but we'll still take a peek at it, especially in game 1 tonight. Zach Wheeler back with the team, back on the mound. Whew. Wheels, we need you, buddy. Again, we'll talk about this coming up as we continue Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about game time, though, because have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day, and you suddenly realize that you want to be in the stands, not just watching at a bar or on TV somewhere. That's exactly where game time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. The more, the merrier. Game time makes that possible. Game time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app, they actually go down the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. They've done everything. And they're who I always use to get tickets when I go down to the yard and I'm going with people. Like, you got to understand, I'm bougie. I'm spoiled. I get to sit in the press box when I want. So if I'm using Game Time, that means that I'm trusting they can get me the best seat in the house if I'm going with friends and family. And they always can. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Remember, it's not just baseball tickets. Sports, comedy, concerts, theater, all of these things you need a ticket to get in the building, Game Time's got it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and also make sure you use code LOCKEDONMLB because that'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with Game Time. Phil's Cubs, another opportunity to watch our favorite baseball team. Oh, man, at some point I may rather have my eyes gouged out. But we're not quite there yet. I'm not making drastic changes if it's up to me. And I don't know. The Phillies are 37-28. The Cubs are 40-25. If you just looked at the record, you say these two teams are not all that different. But the directions they're heading in right now, very, very different. The Phillies, well, we know that they've lost 5 straight contests, and that is absolutely miserable. You'd never want to see that at all. The Cubs did just lose their series finale in the last series that they had. They dropped their final game to the Tigers. But even though the Tigers took 2 or 3, the Cubs were able to play them tight in the other couple of games. So, I mean, you just look at it and say, good team playing good baseball versus, I think, good team that's playing bad baseball right now. And it's not a great recipe for success for the Philadelphia Phillies, though they are favored on the betting lines tonight. And that's because Zach Wheeler is back on the mound. He's back from paternity leave. And that's good that he took his time to be with his family. I've got no issue with that, even though I think they should time up the timing of having kids better, all the Phillies, but that's whatever. That's more tongue in cheek than anything. Wheeler needs to be their stopper. This is like what you count on your ace for. You count on your ace for a couple of things: consistency and just being able to like stabilize everything. So, at least when we got this guy out there, we're going to have a chance to win. Like 8 or 9 times out of 10, you're going to give us a performance where we can win. They don't always win 8 or 9 out of 10, but still, you're giving us that shot. You're not going to be the reason that we don't have it. Consistency is one of them. The other one, big game situations where pressure and everything exists, where lesser pitchers may crumble to it. An ace is supposed to want the ball in those big moments, and Zach Wheeler does. But the last one is also very important for the regular season, and it's being a stopper. Now, a stopper is a pitcher that can go out there, and when your team is in a slide, say this far, no further. We're not dropping any more games. Like maybe we'll lose tomorrow, maybe we'll lose the next day, but not today, not with me on this darn mound. This losing streak ends with me. And Zach Wheeler has been good at that with the Philadelphia Phillies. He's an exceptional pitcher. And I expect him to have a good night tonight, even though the Cubs are a really good team. And he needs to, because I don't know how this offense is going to produce runs. They're facing off against Matthew Boyd. Boyd, if you're not familiar with the season he's having, he struck out 70 in 68 and 2/3 innings pitched. So he does have some strikeout stuff. He's got a 3.01 ERA, which is 0.05 ahead of where Zach Wheeler is. So Boyd's had a really good year, 1.19 whip. So he's given up 66 hits in those 68 and 2/3 innings. So he does give up hits. He just doesn't really give up runs. Maybe some havoc on the base pass will be able to get it done. Lefty, so you're going to see Turner in the leadoff spot tonight. We knew that already coming in. That's going to be the lineup. And then you have righties, game 2 and game 3 of this series with Chicago. So maybe that's where you see lineup changes if you think, maybe Kyle Schwarber will bat leadoff again. I don't know. I'm not opposed to that at this point. You won't see it tonight with a lefty on the mound, I don't think, even though Schwarber's crushed lefties. So we'll see. But Wheeler's the key to this game. He's got to go out and shove. It's the only way that the Philadelphia Phillies have a chance. And then that just gives them a chance. Honestly, you need to also score runs. It's this funny thing about baseball that your pitcher can throw really, really well. And then if you don't score at all, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, how does the offense wake up? Well, what you do when you're in a stretch like this, you go back to the basics. You're not trying to hit the ball out of the yard. You're not trying to just like crush balls in the gap. No, you go back to, how do I put the ball in play? How do I make the defense work? How do I do the smart, safe thing? It's not sexy. And I'm not necessarily saying small ball. I am saying just like bat the ball. Whether that's a heavy swing or not, you've got to start putting the ball in play and making them make plays and putting the pressure on the defense and giving yourself run scoring opportunities. Strikeouts are not a way that they can get out of this. Obviously, the strikeouts are never a good thing, but you got to simplify the approach down, hunting fastball strikes and just working off of that. And the Phillies have not been good at that over the past, 8, 9, 10 games. It's going to be a tough road for the Philadelphia Phillies in this series. I do not think they win the series. I do think they win tonight. I like them in game 1 because I think Wheeler's ready for the moment. But I don't really go into this Cubs series expecting them being the Phillies to win it. They're just not playing remotely good baseball. And in our previous segment where we talked about, how do you build a lineup with basically nobody from 5 spot on that's doing anything offensively right now? It's very hard to. So the Phillies are between a rock and a hard place. And maybe they'll make something crazy happen and they'll take 2 or 3 from the Cubs. And everyone will be like, okay, well, they've settled. And then after you play the Cubs, you do get an opportunity to play the Blue Jays again, who I think are a beatable team, even though you lost 2 or 3 to them up in Toronto. Then you get the Marlins for 4. Like, if you can win this series against the Cubs, Blue Jays come to Philly, and then you get the lowly Marlins, maybe there is a chance to build momentum here, and you need it because after the Marlins, you play the Mets. But this Cubs series is going to be tough. And Chicago has one of the best records in baseball. They're a very, very good team. The 40-win mark, It's only been equaled by the Mets and the Tigers. And Cubs have the third best record in baseball, 2 games back of the Detroit Tigers for best record in baseball. So not an ideal time to be facing a good team, but it is what the Phillies have in front of them, and we'll see if Zach Wheeler can stop them tonight. I think he can, especially probably feeling pretty fresh after not having to throw his last start for being away from the team. We'll see. Knock on wood, cross your fingers, hope, pray to whoever you believe in. The Phillies need all the help that they can get right now, and we'll see if they can pull it off tonight. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you again so much for joining us. Once again, we come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And please make sure you're rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the YouTube. All of that great stuff that really helps us out. Hopefully the Phillies win tonight, and tomorrow we're having a much more fun conversation because I don't really want to do more of these shows of me just telling you the team stinks, but they stink right now. Maybe tomorrow we're having a fun one about a win. But either way, I will talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.